name is Randy Johnson, and I want to share some information with you about a book that I read called Emotional Intelligence 2.0 by Travis Bradberry and Gene Graves. I really enjoyed reading this book. It held my attention from the very start. The book has a lot of thought-provoking information that draws the reader in and has them wanting to learn more. I learned that there are 4 skills associated with emotional intelligence, which are paired under 2 competencies. Self-awareness and self-management fall under personal competence, and social awareness and relationship management, which fall under social competence. Now, personal competence focuses more on you individually, whereas social competence focuses on your ability to improve the quality of your relationships with others. Something interesting that I learned in this book is that people with higher emotional intelligence levels are typically the highest performers within a company over people with higher IQs. In fact, about 90% of the top performers have higher emotional intelligence levels. In addition, they also make higher salaries, an average of $29,000 more per year than people with low emotional intelligence levels. If you're looking for a good book to read, I would highly recommend that you pick this one up. It's definitely worth the read.
All right, hello everybody. I'm going to try my best here at stealing the Kit Allowitz minute-and-a-half nugget and probably give you 2 minutes about the book that I chose to read for the Leadership Journey Summit, which was Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. First off, I was a little surprised that the book really talked about how success of a person is gauged much more on the surroundings, the people that they've been surrounded with, the environment, and the opportunities that they were given, more than the person themselves and their drive and their intellect, which kind of goes against what we've learned in the journey. Although Malcolm Gladwell did have some very compelling evidence that would show that that is true. So, for example, they talked about how Bill Gates got to where he is today because he had the opportunity to go in and use a computer terminal that he didn't have access to, which most people didn't have access to. And he spent hours upon hours upon hours learning how to program, which led him to create Microsoft. Now, people that didn't have that opportunity never made it. So they're showing that that was an opportunity that he was given, which led me to believe in our organization, where can we do the same thing? Where do we have the ability to give opportunities? And I look at our regional or our rotational engineers, and are we giving them the right opportunities to make them successful within the organization? There were things in the book too that I felt maybe myth, as something Kit said to talk about in this little video. One was about the sports and the ability of a player, if they were born at the beginning of the year between January and March, that they had a much better advantage to become successful because of the fact that they were at the cutoff age, and children born later in the year didn't have as much experience. So the cutoff age allowed for 10 to 12 months more experience, which created better players. So I happened to look up one of my favorite players, Anthony Rizzo from the Chicago Cubs, and he was born in August. And you see over my shoulder, he helped them win a World Series. So maybe that's some myth that we can debunk. But overall, I really enjoyed the book. Still a little iffy about how it really fit with the journey, but it was okay. It still gave you things to think about, and what are we doing to give other people opportunities. And I did look to see where some of the principles fit in. And I think if for those of you that read it, there's a story about the rice fields in China and how the rice field yield really isn't important as much as it is to prepare that field. So they look a lot at the inputs. Is the ground level? Are they watering it correctly? Because they know if they focus on those inputs, they get a much higher yield on the output. So that's my quick nugget, and I already went over a minute and a half. So Kit, you're good. You got me. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Hi, it's Nate Hedrick here doing a pre-read review for Don't Pull the Chicken Switch by Kit Allowitz? I don't know. On the back it says he's an avid Ironman triathlete, ultramarathoner, and marathon competitor. I'm sure that qualifies him to tell me how to live my life. Probably tell me to lose some weight or something, so that'll be great. On the front, we have a chicken with a fire alarm. Simply stunning. I'm sure this is just going to be fantastic. Here we go. Hi, Nate Hedrick here doing a post-read review of Don't Pull the Chicken Switch by Kit Allowitz. As you'll note, the book is light in weight but heavy on food for thought. There are couple of themes I took from this. One was that there are chicken switches that we all pull in our lives that don't allow us to live up to our full potential. And one thing, you have to know what that is. Do some good hard introspection to know what the chicken switches are that you're pulling. You may rely on somebody else for coaching and accountability, but you have to know what that chicken switch is. And also, very importantly, you have to really want to change it. And that leads me a little bit into the second theme of the book, which is all about 4 tacit underlying assumptions we might have about willpower, and it debunked some and proved others. But one that really stood out to me was the fourth one. And it said, this is what the fourth willpower diagram is all about. When you decide that what you need or want to do is worth the price, that goal stops being a task and starts being part of you. So now accomplishing it isn't an assignment, but a matter of integrity. And that got me thinking about our leadership journey and us trying to accomplish our goals of preeminence and being at $1 billion, and trying to personalize it to understand what is it about that goal that makes it worth doing, and it actually makes it a part of you and not just an assignment. And so I like to think about that in the big scope of things, like what we talk about in terms of solving big problems like world hunger, but also bringing it a little more personal. Is that our flow instruments, our level, our pressure, our temperature, all of those things are what drive my personal family security. That's feeding my kids, putting a roof over our heads, clothing the family. And so it's not just about the big things, but it's also about the small day-to-day things and the things that we all love and care about. So that's my review of the book. I enjoyed it. I'd encourage you to read it as well. Thanks.
Hi everyone, Ola Westrom here. I was asked to provide a little bit of a book review of a book that I'm reading. So I've been reading here Dilbert, excellent book, business book. I would really recommend for everybody. It goes into details about different types of management, team building, innovation, you name it. Kit, what's that? Oh, this was not the book? Oh, I kind of like this one though. You probably mean Radical Candor by Kim Scott. Really have to recommend this book as well. It really touches on a lot of things that we do or have gone through during the leadership journey. Team building, providing feedback, practical examples about how to go about things, talk about differences between leadership, coaching, management, really making sure to differentiate between how to approach that. I think everybody will like it too. It works in a quadrant 2, that's where we want to be, right? So there's a lot of good nuggets about this one here. It does have a little bit of a maybe bias, or let's say the culture from Google and Apple and so on, where the author worked most of her career. I still think this is a really good read for everybody at Anderson Hauser. I certainly listened to it through Audible, and after that I started reading some of the chapters as well that I felt was most relevant here. So again, really good read, really would recommend it for everybody.
Hello, Leadership Journey. This is Jason Engel to talk about Phase 3 Fulcrum. Fulcrum provided great perspective on performance versus contribution. Performance is the measure of how well an employee does what they are asked by their job description. Straightforward, the quality, the quantity, the timeliness. Contribution is the impact one's performance makes to the organization over that same time. It's trickier to understand. It measures the level of work and the value of those results. So doing the best job you possibly can doesn't stop with simply achieving your job description. impact the bottom line, boost teams' morale, improve a customer relationship. Fulcrum educated me about the 4 phases of performance and contribution. Phase 1 lasts 3 months to a year, allows a new employee to learn the ropes. Phase 2 creates a comfortable place for one to master technical disciplines and have the spirit of independence. Many Phase 2s are known as the hired gun, the trusted expert. They always deliver. They want to be number one. An organization can also have Super 2s, which are individuals that continuously push the envelope. A question that I thought was interesting from the text: when a Phase 2 transitions to a Phase 3, the smartest and best technical person will always make the smartest and best manager. A question to think about. Phase 3 are managers who must learn how to grow the business and not just work. They have to abandon their prior reputation and identity as that hired gun, which is a risk. It puts people outside their comfort zone. They deal with people, budgets, ill-defined assignments. You don't want to deal with that stuff. Stay at 2. Phase 4 is the face of the organization to the outside world. They have the resources of the entire company at their disposal and create strategic direction for the future. Without Phase 3 managers, a Phase 4 will always be pulled into the weeds, never allowing them to focus on the future. The section that most resonated was the canyon journey. It's very hard to let go of that expert knowledge you worked so hard to build. That's the respect of your peers, the respect of the organization. But to be a successful manager, you have to be able to coach your employees, your direct reports, to shine greater than yourself. And that's not a dynamic for everyone. The section I'm challenged by is the statement, an organization cannot have player coaches. Here at E&H, we always ask you to get your hands dirty. Is that pushing someone back into Phase 2 responsibilities? A question to discuss. Thank you, Kit.
Hey everybody, it's Webster Wolf here. I'm sorry, I had to use a Pulp Fiction reference for those of you that aren't so inclined. Everybody calls me the Wolf. I wanted to talk to you about emotional intelligence today, the GOLEMAN book, and what I thought about that book. It's a very heavy read for those of you that have a lot of background in this area. There's a lot of scientific evidence and a lot of testing to substantiate one of the main claims that the author makes in the book. And that claim is that emotional intelligence could actually be more important than IQ. What did I get out of the book? What stuck with me is how EQ is determined and how the key functions in the brain work instinctively, much like our animal brain, and how these actually shape and are even prejudiced by prior experiences that actually begin at our birth. So at the end of the day, I learned that EQ was defined to exist in 5 domains. The first one is our self-awareness. The second one, the ability for us to manage our emotions. The third, to be able to motivate ourselves. The fourth, to recognize emotions in others and be able to empathize. And finally, how we handle relationships. At the end of the day, I realized that our individual EQ has a direct impact on how we're perceived by others and how we are influencing others in interactions with our teams, our peers, across departments, and ultimately with our customers, that we serve. Now, what seemed like truth to me is the need to stop and process before we start and react in many of the situations we find ourselves in today. The exception, of course, is if you ever find this guy out in the wild. So with that, thank you very much.